élégant, vulgaire.
Elegante, vulgar.
They don't talk about this out loud, but the world has never made space for the classy black woman. Because elegance on us doesn't just look good, it shakes systems. We weren't supposed to be this refined, this radiant, this rooted in our worth. Well, that is, not without begging for a seat, or not without shrinking first. You see, class is marketed as a white woman's birthright, but when a black woman shows up in a red lip, slow speech, and a silk blouse, with standards, stillness, and no desire to be liked, people get uncomfortable. They want us loud, accessible, performing. But classy? That's too quiet, too powerful, too in control. They call it fake. But it's not fake, it's fluent. We've always known how to move with grace. They just never imagined that we do it without permission. When we're soft, they say we're weak. When we're selective, they call us cold. When we show up in luxury, they tell us we're trying to be white. No, we're just remembering who we are. Because class on a black woman, it's rhythm, it's ancestral, it's gold hoops and glossy lips. It's discernment, it's the ability to sit in silence and still own the room. They fear us because we don't have to be loud to be seen. We don't have to explain ourselves to be respected. We are not palatable. We are powerful. So when they say, who does she think she is? The answer is simple. Who I was born to be. This isn't about being classy. It's about being free. And that's threatening because society profits only when we see ourselves through survival. When we're strong but never soft, bold but never quiet, visible but never valued. So when we choose softness, class, elegance, it's not just style, it's rebellion. You're not too much, you're finally becoming uncontainable. And that's exactly why they don't want you to become her. But do it anyway. Bye for now, toodles.
What's considered classy if you're white, but trashy if you're a person of color?
The fun I'm about to have with this. Speaking multiple languages when your first language wasn't English. I mean being bilingual. Living in a trailer or mobile home. I mean tiny homes and hashtag van life. Reusing plastic containers from products like spreadable butter, dip, that kind of thing. I mean being eco-friendly and recycling. Having a lot of kids and using social welfare programs to support them. I mean opening your home and heart to foster disadvantaged youth. Thrifting your clothes, housewares, appliances, anything. I mean practicing sustainability. Getting pregnant out of wedlock. I mean being a strong, independent woman who's so brave to choose to have a child on her own. Getting emotional when you're speaking on topics of race and racial injustices. I mean being a passionate ally and activist. Joining a gang. Becoming a police officer.
Let's get to examine what's happening here because this elegant versus vulgar trend isn't all messy, it is calculated. And people are pretending that is not about aesthetics, it's not about posture or taste. But if you look deep down, these will be it is all about classification of human races. And classification has always been political. Words like elegant and vulgar, they sound so harmless because they are presented as descriptive words, but in reality, there is no description in this sort of thing because this system is pretending to be neutral. But this power, which these words come with them, they are uneven. And now, this will make clear that language does not describe a reality; it actually gets to organize it. So, when social media trends they are constantly associated with whiteness to be elegant, and blackness is associated with vulgar. That's not a coincidence because that's something which has been patterned in their messaging.
Why do white people resent black excellence? Let's talk about it. Not all white people are racist, obviously, but there is a specific subset for whom black excellence seems like a personal affront to them, right? It really bothers them when black people succeed. The 13th Amendment emancipated enslaved black Americans in 1865, and then the Jim Crow laws kind of wrapped up with the passing of the Civil Rights Act in 1964. So if we do the math, that's about 61 years in which black Americans were able to strive for success in any sort of meaningful way without like the constraints of the law pulling them down. 61 years. If we compare that to white Americans, Americans who besieged a land already owned and occupied by indigenous Americans, we'll put that around 1620 when, the Mayflower came here, then that gives them about 425 years to establish success in this country. 425 versus 61. If we compare those two fundamentally very different time spans, how much did white Americans actually do in all that time? If we were to compare even the poorest and most underprivileged of white America to black America generally, it is clear that white Americans are born way past the start line, right? By that I mean, by nature of being white in American society, you do benefit from all sorts of privileges. And to be frank, you're not exhausted by the horrible experience of facing racism on a daily basis, right? You do have a ton of privileges. So I imagine existing in this bubble of privilege that you totally deny. The existence of black people for whom success is like second nature, when it comes so easily and so readily, even though you've only had 61 years to achieve it, I imagine that's exhausting and frustrating. I imagine it makes people feel super, super inferior and hurts certain people's tiny, tiny little egos. And what do they blame that deep, deep psychic pain on? Well, of course, DEI and critical race theory and affirmative action. So I guess the question is, what might help those white Americans who just so strongly detest black excellence? What will help you? And for that, I would suggest a lot of therapy, a ton of therapy. And I would also just suggest that we open the schools, right? We teach people history. Yeah, maybe? Okay, bye!
The parts that even don't come from individuals, they just come from a system that have been designed to look down at these black people. Now, the historical function of Vulgar, that meant that these people are so common, they are ordinary, and they are of the masses. And this is not a classic insult, it is not a behavioral one. But when black women are labeled as vulgar, then the message is not that they lack this kind of refinement. The message is that you're not elite, you are not even meant to be centered in this whole conversation. And that's why the term actually comes to fit so neatly into this racial hierarchy. And race and classes have always been intertwined. And we all know that these two races, one has always liked to step on the other so that it can be seen how well. And now, elegance is not even a natural trait because it is some sort of a gatekeeping standard. And now the other race now tries to gatekeep this standard by comparing themselves against black community. And now standards are now created by those who have this whole influence. Then they have actually come and framed this as a universal. Now in the Western society, those standards were built around white femininity, European restaurant, and also subdued into their own expression. And anything outside that whole template now became too much, it became too wrong, and it is immoral, and also it was supposed to be disqualified. And now, here's where this whole argument comes to collapse for anyone who's actually paying attention because when black women display their confidence, their sexuality, and also their creativity, these people now come and say that these people are aggressive, they are burglar, they're also chaotic. But when it happens to white people who and then now they come to display their own traits, now they say that these people are confident, they're so creative, they're showing out their sexuality. And now they say that these people need to be empowered, they are so edgy, and they also need to be liberated. And this now comes to prove that labeling isn't behavior, it is about who is allowed to be complex without any kind of penalty because other people can just express themselves and they not be labeled anyhow. And now, why is this imitation rewarded? Well, when we come to look at these things closer, one of the most revealing parts of this dynamic is how imitation works. And when these women adopt all these foliage, the dark tones, and also the urban aesthetics, they are now praised for being adventurous, they are fashionable. But let's black women who come to exist naturally with those same traits, they are now accused that they are being too artificial and they are being excessive. And now people start saying that these people just are vulgar because they have now shown their artificial beauty. And now the system does not do something which is very specific. Now it comes to punish this authenticity and now gets to reward the imitation. They punish people who are authentic and now reward these others which is not trying to imitate, because imitation is not control, it is and also it is not even authentic. And now the idea that white women can can come to occupy all these beauty standards is because they have earned it historically, now comes to be false because they were positioned there. And now, if they have been positioned there, now they come to create the reference point, they stabilize the racial hierarchy, and also encourage the aspiration towards whiteness. And now that becomes the pedestal that was never about superiority. It is about order, and you'll see that they have been elevated to these beauty contests through things like their supremacy because they are of the white race. And now this system works best when everyone knows their place. Now they want to show that black people belong to a certain place and whites belong to another place. And now, if you come to think of that kind of society, and in some sort of a camera lens where people now come to showcase their beauty on the internet and also somewhere else. Now, smooth this filter comes as some sort of a smooth whiteness and natural flaws, and now it is translated into imitation. And now that whole imitation is now termed as elegance. And now, if this same thing is done by black people, now black people are going to be told that they are so excessive and their confidence is so vulgar. And now, even before these pictures are taken, the outcome is already decided. And now, that whole thing will come to realize that it is not a perception, it is programming, because people have already known the outcome even before the whole process is done. Now, these trends don't actually appear randomly, they resurface during moments when black culture influence is so high and black women are very visible, and also traditional standards feel to be threatened, and now they feel that their whole system is now collapsing at their own eyes. And now that response isn't adoption, they are trying to reclassify, they are trying to tell black people that you should know your place and you should not try to come out of that place. And now if power can't stop this kind of influence, then it tries to rename it negatively. So now elegance has nothing to do with proximity to whiteness. Elegance is self-definition, resilience, and pressure, and also presence without this kind of permission. You don't need to be permitted by whites to be elegant. Not by definition, these are marginalized women, especially the black poor ladies. They have embodied their elegance daily, not because of these trends, but because they have it naturally, and also they require it for their own survival. So, elegance versus vulgar trends is a narrative that is not about based about style. It is about who gets to be humanized by default and who must actually prove themselves endlessly. And they want the black women and the black people to be proving themselves to be elegant. But once you see that, you come to realize that this is some sort of an illusion and it is collapsing, and these people can't take the fact that this illusion is collapsing. And when this illusion collapses, then there's the hierarchy, which has been protecting them for decades now, is also coming to an end. It is also collapsing. And the black people are waking up each and every day, and they can't take the fact that they are going to be the minority and the blacks are going to be the majority here. Let us know what you resonate with in this whole episode, and share your comments down below, and tell us why are these people so obsessed with black? Why can't they just leave us alone for quite some time? And why they always try to compare themselves with us? Why can't they just be on their own? And if you've not supported our channel, you can support us by subscribing so that you can hit that and continue growing. Till then, peace, love, and harmony.